Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, February 8th, and today we are going to look at what's called factoring. Now, last week, if you remember, we basically took, these binomials and multiplied them together, right? And we used either the FOIL method or the box method, right? So this week, we're going to work backwards, and we're actually going to go from, something like this, and then take it back into something like that, okay? So, first thing you need to know is that standard form of a polynomial should be written from highest degree to lowest degree. Well, I mentioned that in class a bunch and also in the videos. So a quadratic function, when it's in the proper form or standard form, it looks like this. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, where a does not equal 0. So basically, you have these three coefficients, right? But you have x squared, x, and then just a constant by itself. All right, so before we get into factoring, like I said up here, let's go into, or let's just try and simplify and rewrite the quadratics into this form so that we can then factor, because it's not impossible, but it's going to be really hard to factor if it's not in this form. Okay, so in this example we're adding a few items, so we want to combine like terms. Well, these both have an x squared, so we're going to combine them. 3x squared negative 2x squared gives me 1x squared. Okay, then we have a negative x and a negative x. That gives me negative 2x. And then we have a positive 4 and a positive 2, right? So that gives me a positive 6. And that's in standard form because it's got the highest exponent first, and then an x value, and then a constant. Okay, same idea here. If you want, you can pause the video, see if you can do it yourself, and then check my work. All right, so we're going to distribute by the negative. Okay, so that gives us a negative 2x, a positive 3, and a negative x squared. Okay, so you have 5x squared minus 3 plus 3x. And now you have some like terms, so x squared and x squared. But this one's negative, so it gives you 4x squared. Okay, you got, let's see, positive 3x and negative 2x. That gives you a positive 1x. Okay, and a negative 3 and a positive 3 actually cancel out, so that would be plus 0, but we can just write this without that, and it's still in standard form, so that's the answer there. Okay, so that's how you write it in standard form. Simplify it all the way down if it's more than 3 terms. Really, you notice it has a quadratic trinomial is really what it is. This is a binomial, but that's because the third term is 0. Otherwise, it should be a trinomial. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is, again, this is what we did last week. And just as a review, we want to use the FOIL or double distribution method. So distribute the x to both. X times x is x squared. X times 7 is 7x. Then on the inside, we have a 3x, and on the outside, we have 3 times 7 is 21. So, when you combine like terms, you get x squared plus 10x plus 21, and there's our trinomial. And that's how you multiply. Okay, same thing over here, only now I'm going to show you the box method. I know that was a preference of some of you last week. So box method, you're going to put both of your components, or your binomials in here. So x times x is x squared, x times 5 is 5x, x times negative 4 is negative 4x, and 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. So then when you combine your like terms, you have x squared plus x minus 20. Okay, so that was box method. Hopefully you remember that from last week. Excuse me. All right, so today we're going to do the factoring. Now that we've done a little bit of a review. The factoring part is really just dividing, okay? So instead of multiplying it through like we did here and distributing it and getting a final answer, we're basically going to factor it or divide it into 2 separate terms, right? So as you can see, we just expanded it to this, and now we're going to work backwards. So for guess and check, there are 2 different methods we're going to teach you. There are actually a lot more. There's like the Berry method, there's the split the middle terms, there's a lot, but you're welcome to look at any of those. I'm just going to teach a guess and check and box method because they're the quickest once you get skilled and have practiced enough. So first thing you want to do, split this up into two sets of parentheses. Okay, I've called this in the past, I've called it the cat method because it'll look like a cat at the end, but really all you're doing is you're splitting it up into two parentheses. Now, we're going to look at the first term and the third term. The first term is x squared, right? So x squared splits up. You can split it up. What two things multiply together to give you x squared? Well, x and x, right? Okay, and then what two terms split up to give you positive 21? Well, that depends on what gives you 10. So what I mean by that is you take 21 off to the side here, okay? What are the factors of 21? So what are the things that multiply to give you 21? We have 1 times 21, and you have 3 times 7. Okay, and notice that this is a positive 21, so it has to be a positive 1, positive 21, positive 3, positive 7. So it's got to be positive because this is positive. All right, so those are my factors. So of those factors, which one of those, when I add them together, so like 1 plus 21 or 3 plus 7, which one would give you 10? Well, it would be this one, right? 3 plus 7. So those are my factors that I'm going to use here. And again, we said they both have to be positive. Okay, so this is technically, it should be our answer. If we've done this correctly, this should be our answer. Okay, that's what it factors into. X squared plus 10x plus 21 factors into x plus 3 times x plus 7. So to check our work, what you can do is you can then multiply it back out. So x times x gives you x squared. X times 7 gives you 7x. 3 times x gives you 3x. And then 3 times 7 gives you 21. So when you combine, you'll see it should be equal, right? So the bottom, like if you multiply it out, you should get the same thing you started with, okay? And in this case, we do. Now, if you can see why I called it the cat method, it looks like a cat. You got some glasses, you got the nose, or I mean the ears, the nose, and then you got some cool sunglasses with the tail, right? Pretty cool, right? Anyways, so yeah, that's how you factor it out. So let's do another example like that. All right, so first thing, draw two parentheses because we know we're going to try and factor this into 2. Okay, x squared simplifies to x and x, right? And 16, okay, well the factors of 16 are 2 and 8, 1 and 16, 4 and 4. Okay, which one of those gives me a negative 10? Well, okay, there are two ways to get a positive 16. Either it's a plus times a plus or a negative times a negative, right? So these would be negative 2, negative 8, negative 1, negative 16, negative 4, negative 4. So which one of those, when you add them together, would give you a negative 10? It's this one. Okay, so those are going to be our factors, x minus 2, x minus 8. Okay, and there's our solution. Okay, now again, you can check your work. Pretty simple process. Just multiply it back out. So I'm going to put over here, this is our check. Okay, so x times x is x squared. This gives you negative 8x, negative 2x, and positive 16, which gives you, right, which is the same as up there. Okay? All right, so that's how you use guess and check method. Now, box method is pretty similar. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to make a box, just like we did before. Only this time we already have the end product, right? So inside the box is actually our solution already. Well, we have the x squared, we know goes right here, and we know that negative 20 goes down in the bottom right. So you fill those two in first. Okay, well, now to figure out the middle term, we know it has to be something that simplifies the positive 1. So what we're going to do is take this negative 20 off to the side again and say, okay, what are the factors of negative 20 that would give us a positive 1? Well, you have a negative 2 times 10, that won't work. Negative 1 times 20, that won't work. Negative 10 times 2, that won't work. Negative 20 times 1, still won't work. But one of these will. Okay, which one gives us a positive 1? It'd be this one, right? So that tells us this would be a negative 4, and this would be a positive 5. But remember, we're looking for an x term. So this has to be x into x. All right? And so now, on the tops, now that I've figured out what gives me that, okay, I'm going to basically what's called factor out the greatest common factor. So I have x squared and negative 4x. What's what do they have in common? Well, these both have an x in common. Okay, and this has an x in common, x squared and 5x, right? Okay, so now, what do these two have in common? Well, you can factor out a negative 4, okay, because negative 4 goes into 4 and negative 4 goes into 20. How about down here? What do they both have in common? Well, they both have a positive 5 in common. So my factors are x minus 4 and x plus 5. Okay, so box method is a little bit tougher, I think, when you're going the reverse direction. But again, it helps to organize your thoughts, so whatever your preference. All right, let's do it again here. Number 6. Make a box. Okay, x squared goes in the top left-hand corner. We know that factors into x and x. Negative 8 goes in the bottom right. Factors of negative 8 need to add up to give us negative 2. So let's see, negative 4 times 2, negative 2 times 4, negative 8 times 1, negative 1 times 8. And it would actually be this one. It would give us a negative 2. So this would be negative 4x, positive 2x. Doesn't matter which order you put them in. You could have put them in either box right here. Okay? All right, so what do they have in common? These two have a negative 4 in common. These two have a positive 2 in common. So our factors, x plus 2, x minus 4. Okay? All right. So let's continue. And can you recognize the patterns when factoring the following polynomials? So in this example, let's just do guess and check. So we have x and x is what it factors into. Factors of 1, well, you can only get 1 by multiplying 1 times 1. But that's okay, because what does 1 plus 1 give you? It gives you 2, so we know that this is the correct solution. Right? But, again, if you wanted to factor or check it, multiply it out, same way we did before. So it'd be x squared plus 1x plus 1x plus 1, which will give you x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so we're good. All right. Try this one as well. Again, if you want to use box method, that's perfectly fine. We'll do it that way. Okay, so you have x squared and a positive 10. Take 10 off to the side. What are the factors of 10 that give me 7? Well, that'd be 2 times 5, right? So this will give me 2x and 5x. This is x into x is what you can factor out. 2x and 10 both have a 2 in common. 5x and 10 both have a 5 in common. So this would be x plus 2 and x plus 5. So what did you notice? Well, if the two terms here are both positive, I'm going to highlight this with blue-ish. Kind of looks purple there. Okay, then look what is here as well. They're both positive. So, two positives in standard form equal two positive factors. Kind of simplified there. So just a quick way to remember what goes inside the parentheses, a positive and positive, because these are both positive, right? So C and B are both positive. Okay. What if they're both negative? Or what if C is positive and B is negative? So what if you have a negative positive, right? Okay, well, let's factor it. Find out. X and x give me x squared. Okay, factors of positive 4 that give you negative 4. Well, again, how do you get a positive 4? Okay, you can get it by multiplying two negatives. So you have negative 4 times negative 1 or negative 2 times negative 2. Which one gives you, when you add them together, gives you a negative 4? Be the two negatives. So what do you notice? Well, if it's negative positive, that means it has to be two negative symbols. Let's try this one and make sure that that's actually accurate. So if we do the box method, x squared, positive 2, take the factors of 2, well, you have 2 times 1, but it's got to be a negative 3, so it's got to be negative and negative, right? And then when you add them together, it gives you negative 3, so negative 2x, negative 1x. So these factor into x These ones both have a negative 2 in common. These ones these ones don't really have anything, but we're going to factor out a negative 1 because that's what's in front of x. Okay, and that gives you x minus 2, x minus 1. So look at that. Negative, negative when it's negative, positive. Okay, so that's what we notice here. All right, so in summary, if C is positive, then the signs are positive. Now, what do we mean by C? We mean the third term. So, hold on. If C is positive, oh, I'm sorry. I wrote that wrong. If C is positive, then the signs are the same. So that means they have to either both be negative or both be positive. And they're the same sign as B. Okay, so if C is positive, they're the same sign as B. C was positive, same sign as B. Okay. All right, let's keep going here. Pattern 3, negative. Again, just getting some factoring practice in. So we got x and x. And negative 12 and factors into a negative 4 and 3. Negative 3 and 4. Negative 6 and 2. Negative 2 and 6. Negative 1 and 12. Negative 12 and 1. Which one of those, when you add them together, gives you a negative 4? Well, it'd be this one, right? Negative 6 plus 2 gives you negative 4. So minus 6 plus 2. Okay, we're good with that. You can, again, check your work if you want. X squared, 2x minus 6x minus 12 gives you a negative 4x minus 12, right? Which is the same. Okay, how about this one? Yeah, if we do the box method for this one, x squared, negative 12. Okay, I got negative 12 off to the side. Also, we know that this is x and x that multiplies to get you that. So negative 12 would have to be 1 negative, 1 positive. Which one would add up to give you a positive 4? Negative 2 plus 6 would give me a positive 4. Okay, so that would be a negative 2, positive 6. Don't forget your x's because they're the middle term. Negative 2 and negative 12 have a negative 2 in common. 6 and 12 have a positive 6 in common. So this would be x minus 2 and x plus 6. Okay, so notice before, where was it? Up here, I factored out the negative 1, right? So what I'm going to tell you is but this one I factored out a positive 6, even though this one was negative. Always factor out the sign, so the positive and negative, of the middle term. So even though this one's positive, I'm factoring out the negative. Even though this one is negative, I'm factoring out the positive. Okay, so always factor out the sign of your middle terms. Okay. All right, so what do we notice when C is negative? So this had a negative 12, that's a negative 12. Well, what you should have hopefully noticed is that when C is negative, you have two separate signs inside the parentheses. You have one positive, one negative. So if C is negative, that means your C term, your factors have to be one positive, one negative. Okay? All right. So there's some extra practice here. I'm actually going to post the key just so you can see what they are. I want you to try them on your own. And then we have the exit ticket as well, okay? So you want to go ahead and complete that. Obviously, you can change this. We use the same things as teachers, so just change that over. But do your best. Let me know.